We're going to move on to our final section before we sum it up. And I think it's a really good transition to what Philip was talking about in terms of political activism and the role of community and storytelling. For this last section, we're going to talk a bit about transmedia and politically committed storytelling and what role that has within this new landscape. And so we'll have two folks. The first is going to be Musa Syeed, who's a producer and director based in New York City. His new film, Valley of Saints, just premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. And he also co-directed the film Bronx Princess and produced A Son's Sacrifice, both of which were broadcast on PBS. And he's developing two new transmedia projects, Kashmir is Beautiful and 30 Mosques. And the respondent for this section will be Rana Cho, who is a Bay Area-based brand strategist with experience in high-tech consumer and business-to-business industries. She is a guest lecturer on the topics of consumer research, holistic brand strategy, and interactive technology experiences at the California College of the Arts. So please welcome up Musa Syeed to begin this session.
Hey, thanks everybody for sticking around this long. We've been talking a lot about film and interactive, and so I'm gonna have a few special effects here. So there's a big gap between film and interactive. There's a lot of special effects in this presentation, so no 3D unfortunately, but just anyway. So as someone who's trying to work in both spheres, I'm trying to bridge the gap between these two areas and to build a bridge towards social change by engaging both these platforms. So like a lot of you, my motivation for doing this is, growing up, the representations of people that look like me in film didn't really represent, what I knew as my community and as my reality. People would be saying things like this on TV, but I wanted to flip it, so they said things more like this. This is the, or this, I wanted to flip into this. or this, of course, into this. Takes a couple of minutes, I don't know, yeah, okay. This is actually the ordinary Muslim man meme. You can check out Kenyatta's Know Your Meme site to see more variations of this. I didn't do these are from internet users. But anyway, the point is, trying to shift these perceptions. And that was my initial sort of motivation, but I realized I didn't want to make, PR films, or I didn't want to make films that only directly responded to these stereotypes or have that kind of responsive filmmaking. So I wanted to make films that were, that were accessible to mainstream audiences and to sort of take them to the platforms that I grew up knowing and watching. So these are two short documentaries that I made with my friend Yoni Brook. Son's Sacrifice won Best Documentary Short at Tribeca. Bronx Princess was at Berlin and other film festivals. So they did very well at film festivals. They both broadcast on PBS. Were seen by hundreds of thousands of people. But I still felt like I wasn't engaging the audiences. And I mean, it feels weird to work on a film for so long, put it out there in the world, and then not really hear anything back or know exactly how audiences are digesting what you've created. So for Son's Sacrifice, we went sort of the old-fashioned way, and we planned community screenings, where we would take the film to communities, have discussions and dialogue. And so one of them in particular was a party that we threw called Halal Fest. And so it was, Son's Sacrifice is a film that, did anyone see it here? Okay, cool. All right, great. I'm big in Europe, I'm just kidding. So Halal Fest was a party that we had for the film where we showed the film at the place where it was made, at the slaughterhouse. A halal slaughterhouse in Queens. The film is about a Bengali father and son who run this very traditional business in the middle of New York City. So we had this, party where we had cultural performances. We bussed in hipsters from Manhattan to come and interact with these bearded Bengali guys in Ozone Park, Queens, which is like the nether regions of Queens for a lot of people. People got to play with the animals before they were slaughtered. And then, of course, we screened the film to this diverse group of people, and it was an interesting interaction of people who came to see the film. It was really gratifying. It was really rewarding. But so we made a YouTube video of this event, and we wanted to share it with the world and share this celebration of all these different cultures in Queens. So what was the first comment that we got on YouTube once we posted this? Ozone Park used to be a nice white neighborhood. So on one hand, I felt good that I was maybe reaching somebody who probably wouldn't have watched this otherwise. But on the other hand, I also felt like maybe this negativity on the internet a lot of times comes from the fact that we haven't maybe fully appreciated the level of interactivity that people really need. That they make these kinds of comments because they don't really feel totally engaged in the conversation, and there's a way to more fully open up these platforms to make it more meaningful, to have more meaningful discussions. So as I did my first narrative feature film, which premiered at Sundance in January, Valley of Saints. So it won the World Cinema Audience Award, but we don't have distribution yet. Well, because we've been talking about Sundance, so I just want we won an award, we won a couple of awards there, but we just didn't we didn't get distribution yet. So that's just we can talk more about that later. But I wanted to. The film is a romance set against the environmental devastation in Kashmir, and I wanted to be able to address that issue. I knew that the film would be able to generate a lot of awareness about the issue through international film festivals and maybe television broadcasts and so forth, but it wouldn't be able to actually really create change on the ground in Kashmir, and to get people invested in environmental activism, which was important to me. So we had the opportunity to attend the BAVAC Producers Institute. Wendy Levy was here earlier. She was running it at the time, and she sort of converted me to transmedia ideology. So what we ended up creating at BAVAC was a Facebook game called Kashmir is Beautiful. It's something we designed. It's not fully implemented yet, or it's not fully created yet, but we designed this game that would sort of take this big problem of the environmental preservation in Kashmir and turn it into small tasks that people could be engaged with and feel rewarded by doing. So, and we chose Facebook in particular because in Kashmir there's over 120,000 youth who are on Facebook who often can't meet in real life because of strikes and curfews and the general political instability in Kashmir. So how does this game work, and what makes it interesting or different? So it starts off like a lot of other games where you choose an avatar or whatever, and you enter this sort of virtual play space where there's some limited virtual gameplay. But the thing that really, the main thrust of the game is really these real life missions that you're given to interact in the real world and to do real life actions and then report back to the game. For example, just to get youth more to interact more with the environment, an early mission, an easy one might be taking a picture of a kingfisher, which is one of the famous birds of Kashmir. So the person goes out, and of course they have henna on their hand, and they take a picture of a kingfisher. They come back to the game, they upload it, and then their tree starts to grow in this tree space, their personal space. Like on Farmville, you have your farm, whatever, but this is, your tree. And the thing is, though, is that you don't just simply take the picture and leave it at that, but that you have to interact and verify and validate other players' environmental actions so that you start to create this community. So, for example, this user created one of the harder missions was to create a reusable bag because plastic polythene bags are a big problem in Kashmir and clogging a lot of the waterways. And so a more advanced mission is to create a reusable bag. And so this person gains points and validation and grows their tree by posting this picture and getting other users to like it or to call it beautiful. So that was something that we developed, and that actually we presented last week at a conference of people doing development in Kashmir, and I think we might finally get some money to implement this. So that was good. So then another film that I'm working on right now is the 30 Mosques documentary. So the film follows my two friends here, Aman Ali and Bassam Tariq, who started the 30 Mosques project, where they went across the country visiting 30 states, or 30 mosques in 30 states in 30 days, blogging at each location along the way. And their blog became very popular. It was, they were guest bloggers on Boing Boing and CNN, and other people covered them as well. And so I joined them on their last trip across the country, where they completed all 50 states. And I was in the back seat of their car, and it was 4 dudes in a car. It was really romantic and cool. but the film was the film was really about their personal journey to making this trip, and so near the end of the trip, it just so happened that ITVS and Mozilla had something called the hackathon, the Living Docs hackathon, and Jonathan Archer's back there stirring things up at ITVS, but he invited us to participate, and the idea initially was that we made this documentary about these guys taking this road trip, and they blogged about every stop on the road trip, so maybe it would make sense to, sorry, I should explain what this hackathon thing was. So it basically was to pair filmmakers with coders and to create interactive, immersive web video documentary experiences. And it was a really, it still is a very unique event because you don't often get those two kinds of people in the same room. So the idea initially was that we have this blog, we have this film. Why don't we integrate these two things and make this interactive experience where people can, watch the film and then see the blog post, or I don't know, whatever, like have these like different pop-ups and things like that. But we kind of decided that the film was originally made as a linear character-based story. The blog wasn't made to be integrated into that, so we didn't want to retrofit both these projects into something that they were never meant to be, but to create a whole new platform that could be sort of the next step in the evolution of the 30 Mosques project. So what we thought of, we wanted to first look at what the strengths and the weaknesses or the needs of the 30 Mosques project as we thought of a next iteration of it. So a lot of people, a lot of readers and users, their main criticism was that they were tired of hearing these two dudes like talking about the community, and they wanted a more diverse range of people documenting the community, especially to hear more female voices in documenting the community. So that was one suggestion. And then the other thing was one of the great strengths of the project was that a lot of people had started to do their own 30 Mosques project around the world. So in Indonesia, and in the Netherlands, and in Chicago, and other places in the US, people had started doing this. And so we had this very strong user base to sort of to leverage. So what we decided to do was to create a whole new platform where it was a crowdsourced storytelling platform that would engage our already very active user base into creating their own, into telling their own stories, and then finding a way to sort of aggregate them in a creative way. So to explain that, we use sort of we use some inspiration from Mad Libs, which is basically, if you've ever done this before, your friend tells you, okay, give me a person in the room, give me an exclamation, give me an adjective, and they fill out this form, and then it becomes this story that neither of you could have expected what the outcome of it would have been, but you create this interesting story together. Does everyone know Mad Libs? Okay, anyway. So we use that basic structure so that so every day now of the 30 days, we would give our users a challenge. So for example, what is it like the last hour before you break your fast? I should say also that 1 minute, wow, okay. What is it like the last hour before you break your fast? I should say that this is also taking place during Ramadan, when the month of fasting. So people would tag their video with certain sort of metadata schema, with certain keywords, their location, the time of day that they made it. They would upload it, and it would go into a script and structure that we had already created that would be the story that their videos would sort of fill in based on the data that they tag their videos with. So it becomes this dynamic timeline where you can experience these different challenges every day, these different stories based on the different metadata that the users tag their videos with. So I guess I'll hurry through this part, but so for me, a lot of time I've sort of separated film and interactive in the way that I deal with both media, because I think for me that I feel like that's the most effective thing to do, in that they're each their own individual platforms that have their own strengths, and also film and interactive each reflect and affect our brains differently, and in order to create real change is that we have to engage different parts of our brains. So film, for example, is traditionally associated more with the alpha activity of the brain, which is deeper concentration, is often associated with daydreaming and so forth. And interactive, which is maybe more informational based, is more associated with waking consciousness and and critical thinking. So the idea is to really engage both these parts of our brain to be able to tell more effective stories and to create a fuller culture of change that isn't just based on a film, but is able to, and not just from the emotional experience of a film, but to also have the informational experience of interactive projects, and to make our brains do that. It's an animated GIF. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Thank you.